Price controls, first of all, the Financial Times, world's best newspaper, summarize the reaction. It comes out of Great Britain, but it covers the world. Democrats on defensive after Kamala Harris's economic plans poorly received. Cool response to price gouging pledge complicates vice president's bid to win trust on inflation. You think? Meanwhile, in the Washington Post, but just not the Financial Times, it's the Washington Post, Kamala Harris's new economic plan draws Democrats praise, GOP scorn. I haven't seen anybody praising it. It's not. It's absolutely crazy. The Wall Street Journal came out with an editorial on the weekend. Kamala Harris endorses Nixonomics because we did try price controls in 1971 and again in 1973. We being America, the president at the time was Richard Nixon, and it was a disaster. It was a fiasco. In fact, this came up on Friday night. I was on Special Report with Brett Baer, and I was asked to summarize what I thought of the complete and utter faceplant. It's on here somewhere, isn't it here? Cut number 33. This is what I said on Friday night after Kamala Harris rolled out her plan. It
was $1.9 trillion, and a lot of people point to that and that vote and that bill that was called the Inflation Reduction Act, which didn't, as one of the biggest problems.
That is the key bit of tape for the next 80 days, Brett. Because when she voted for that, she unleashed this massive tidal wave of federal spending, which caused, of course, increased demand for everything and skyrocketing prices. I was astonished today. It took her 25 days. She hadn't been seen or heard from on policy for 25 days. 25 days to come forward with a policy that failed 50 years ago. Now, I ran the Nixon Library. I worked for President Nixon out of college. I built the library. I ran the foundation twice. You know, we do not have an exhibit on wage and price control because they are an absolute failure. I mean, no one liked wage and price controls. And for her to start with that, one more point, she talked a lot about housing today. The last people you want to consult on housing is anyone from California. And the very last person is anyone from San Francisco. The housing shortage there is so chronic and so long-standing, I can't even believe it. It gives chutzpah an entirely new meaning for her to talk about housing.
Now, Kamala Harris was stunned by the blowback she got, so she retreated to word salad. Here she is on the stump in Pennsylvania on Saturday, cut number 14.
And that's what our election is about. Our election is about understanding the importance of this beautiful country of ours in terms of what we stand for around the globe as a democracy. As a democracy, we know there's a duality to the nature of democracy. On the one hand, incredible strength when it is intact. What it does for its people to protect and defend their rights, their liberty, and their freedom. Incredibly strong and incredibly fragile.
Incredibly fragile? We've been here for 250 years, incredibly fragile? I find that astonishing. We are the world's oldest republic. We have a written constitution that has been amended as necessary, especially after the Civil War, to remove the original sin of the first constitution, the original constitution, slavery. And it has been subsequently amended to allow women the right to vote and to lower the voting age to age 18. A few amendments here and there, but it's incredibly strong. And she says it's incredibly fragile. Unbelievable. Then she actually took a question. This in itself is news. Kamala Harris took a question, and she butchered it. Cut number 15.
You unveiled some economic policies last week.
Yeah.
Can you explain how you're going to pay for those? And can you give us a sense of what other...
For a second, stop. I want you to understand. The question she took. You rolled out your economic policy on Friday. How are you going to pay for those? Price controls and subsidies, massive subsidies for first-time home buyers, which will overinflate the market. That's the question. So we'll start from the beginning so you hear what the question is. How will you pay for those? Okay, try again.
Some economic policies last week.
Yeah.
Can you explain how you're going to pay for those? And can you give us a sense of what other policies you want to unveil going forward?
Sure. Well, I mean, you just look at it in terms of what we are talking about, for example, around children and the child tax credit and extending the EITC. It's at $6,000 for the first year of a child's life.
the return on that investment in terms of what that will do and what it will pay for will be tremendous. We've seen it when we did it in the first year of our administration. We reduced child poverty by over 50%. So that's a lot of the work. And then what we're doing in terms of the tax credits, we know that there's a great return on that investment. And when we increase home ownership in America, what that means in terms of increasing the tax base, not to mention property tax base, what that does to fund schools, again, return on investment. I think it's a mistake for any person who talks about public policy to not critically evaluate how you measure the return on investment. When you are strengthening neighborhoods, strengthening communities, and in particular the economy of those communities, and investing in a broad-based economy, everybody benefits, and it pays for itself.
All right, so that was 4.5 returns on investment. She never said how she was going to pay for it. It's deficit spending, which is inflationary.